Hi, E10. The next series of videos are going to show you how to draw the connector rods. So we're going to start with doing the wing control rods. And this one here is drawn from the front view. Okay, our sketch starts out like here, and we'll go into Onshape and get that started. Okay, so in Onshape, make sure you've created yourself a new folder here, connector rods, and we can create a new part studio. Okay, so the first one is actually called, so we'll rename it, the lower control rod. And it wants us to draw from the front view. So sketch, front view, click N, okay, and let's go and have a look at the sketch. So you can see on the screen here it's starting from the origin and it's heading out 7 millimeters to the top of this circle, okay, and then we're dropping down 1 because the circle is a diameter of 2. Okay, the next step in the drawing is to create another circle that is in line with the horizontal plane, diameter 2, and it needs to touch. From there, from the center of this circle, once they're touching, we're drawing a line out on an angle of 35 degrees. And then we start doing some trimming so that we're just left with that curve and that line. Let's go and draw that. Okay, so we'll start with our line tool. Click, click, 7, enter. We'll just zoom in, escape to turn off the line tool, and now we can draw our circle. So I'm just going to draw a circle down here somewhere. Click, click, diameter 2, enter, and I'll use my dimension tool to move. So from this point here to this point here needs to be 0. And I'll go again from this point here to this point here needs to be 0. That's now constrained to that point. Whoops. Control Z. So again, dimension from that point there to that point there needs to be the radius, which is 1. That's better. Okay. So the next circle, I'm just going to draw it on the line so you can see I've come out on a dotted line. Click, click, 2, enter, and I'm going to move it from this circle to this circle. I want that gap to be 0. And there we go. Alright, the next step was to draw our line out at 35 degrees. Click, just roughly, escape. Now if we use our dimension tool and click on that line and that line, it will change to, instead of giving us a lineal dimension, to give us an angular. Okay, I got pretty close, but just type in 35. Enter, and we can start trimming. So M for trim. We don't want that bit, and we don't want that bit, or that bit. Okay, so we've got the line going around there, done. Okay, so now we want to do a sweep. We first have to have a circle. So finish sketch. And we'll jump back to our instructions and it will tell us the circle that goes on the bottom. This one here, diameter 1. So I'm just going to go back to my trimetric view. So I actually want to draw this on the right plane. And circle from the origin, diameter 1, enter. I'm going to go to the trimetric view, zoom in, and you'll see we've just drawn that. So now we want to do a sweep. So finish off the sketch. Here's our sweep tool. It's a new one. Following that body, it wants a sweep path, so click there. That's better. Okay, that's it there. So just click the tick, and that is the lower control rod done. Okay. Jumping back to our instructions. We've done that. We are looking now at the next drawing here. The next one is the upper wing control. Now, it didn't say specifically to draw this in a new part studio, but we will. Okay. It's very similar, but is shorter and has a different end instead of just terminating as a straight rod. We're going to start by sketching in the front plane. Ensure that the start of your sketch is not started at the origin point. Okay. Okay. So going to go front view. We've got a line coming down here, 3 millimeters. Then a circle with diameter 2. Its radius touches there. This is in line with that point there. And then we've got a line going out here at 35 degrees. Okay, let's give that a go. So not on the origin, and from the front plane. So, new tab, Part Studio. We're going to rename this, and that's the upper wing control. Rod. Sketch. We want the front plane. Click N. Do not start on the origin. And we're just going to have a line come down 3. Enter. Zooming in here. Escape to turn off the line tool. Jumping over to the circle tool. Diameter of 2. And we're going to use a dimension tool to move it in line. So from here to here. We want that to be 1. It's the radius. I'll just zoom in a little. It's sitting up a bit high. There to there. There we go. And we want that to be 0. Done. Okay. Now the next part is another circle. So I'm going to come down in line with here. So this is inferring again. I get that dotted line. Click, click, and it's another diameter 2. Enter. Oh, so close. So we just want to move that. So this one touches that one. And that should be a 0. Okay. And just checking. That should still be in line. Yep. Okay. Now our line that came out at 35 degrees started here. Click, escape, we use the dimension tool, click on that line there, changes to angular and place it and click 35. Enter. Okay. Now we should be right to start trimming. We'll just jump back and check what it looks like. Oh, not quite. Okay. So it wants us to create an angular plane. But we can trim those lines first, so we'll do that. M, get rid of that, and get rid of that, and that. Done. And our instructions. Okay, select the plane tool, and then instead of creating an offset plane as we did before for the body, select the line angle option from the drop down list. Okay, line angle option from the plane tool, the drop down. Choose the short 35-degree line, so it will be this one that was left in our drawing, and end the right plane as a reference. Okay, so the 35-degree line plus the right plane. Then finalize the plane tool to generate a plane at the angle of that short line. Let's do that step first before we move on. Okay, so our plane tool is here, the drop down, and line angle is what we wanted, so make sure that one is selected. We want that one, and it says select an additional point plane, and we want to click the right plane. So just zoom out. You might need to change back to trimetric view and click on the right plane. Okay, and click the tick to finalize. Okay, so now we have a very small plane there. Okay. Jumping back to our instructions. Draw a diameter 1 circle on the plane so that it is roughly in the middle as shown below. Then use the dimension tool to set the distance from the line to the center of the circle to 0 and the distance from the end of the line where it meets the curve to the center to 0. So basically looks like we want that to be the center of our circle. Let's give that a go. So just going to zoom in a little, click sketch, and I want that plane, and I'm going to click N. There we go. Now I'm going to go, yeah, now I can see where I want it. Okay. So it does let me snap to that point, and that's where they want the center of the circle at diameter 1. So I'm just going to do that. So circle, click, click, and then diameter 1, enter. Okay. Switching back to the instructions. Want to create a sweep from that point there. Okay. Done. Sweep. Path, sorry. Faces and sketch regions to sweep is this one. And our path from here to here to here. There it is. And done. Okay. Now it looks like we want to draw this cylinder on top. It's a diameter 4 circle that's extruded 1.5. Diameter 4, just taking some notes, and an extrusion of 1.5 millimeters. Okay. Okay, it says the next step could be achieved a number of ways, including applying a fillet to the top of the cylinder. That's the way I'll do it. It's a lot easier. So we'll draw that little cylinder first. So I'm going to go sketch. I want to draw on this face here. Click N. Circle tool. Go. Diameter. Click. And 4. Enter. We want to extrude this. We can switch back to the trimetric view. And we want that not to be 25, we just want it to be 1.5. much better. And click tick. Jumping back. This is what we want to end up with. They've used revolve, but we'll be able to see the dimensions they've used down here. Just want to fill it the whole way down, so the 1.5. So fillet is here. I'm going to click that face, and we want that to be 1.5 there, so type that if it isn't, and click the green tick. Okay, done. Now back in our instructions. Done. There's not many instructions here on this one. The final part of the wing control rod is a double-ended version of the lower wing control rod. This time, start with a line that is 57.5 millimeters long, and draw the circles on both ends. That sounds repetitive to me. Use the same technique as for the upper wing control rod. Okay. Alright. So we'll jump back up here, upper control rod. Which was this one, and there's our circles there. So, at a diameter of 2, line straight up, another diameter of 2 that touched, and the line going back this way, 35. Now, I don't want to have to do this twice, so what I'm actually going to do, if I go back down to this drawing, I'm just going to draw half of it. Okay, so instead of starting with the line that was 57.5, 57.5, I'm going to divide that by 2, which makes it 28.75. And once I've done my sweep, I'll then mirror the whole thing. It'll be much quicker. So still in connector rods, create a new parts studio. We're going to rename that straight away, and that's going to be called the double-ended rod. Enter, and this one I believe is drawn from the front plane. Click N, line. I said we're only going to draw half of it, so 28.75. Enter, escape, circle, diameter 2, enter, and we'll use our diameter tool to move. Click those 2 points and we'll make that 0 as well. Did it again. From there to there it's a 1 because of the radius. Okay, circle tool again. Out on this line here, diameter 2, and now we'll move that in line. So we want this circle to touch that circle, so that's 0. Okay, everything there is still in line. Cool. Right, one more line. So line from here out this way, escape, and use the dimension tool. Click on that line, click on that line, changes to angular dimensions, 35, enter, and we can start trimming. So M for trim, we don't want that bit, and we don't want that bit, or that bit, and we can now do our sweep. So I might now go to finish sketch. If you were smart, Oh, I was smart. You could have started on the origin point, which means I don't have to set my 35-degree plane to draw from here. I can just switch to my right plane and draw the circle on the origin. Back to trimetric. Sketch, right view, N. And I'll just double check the dimension. Doesn't say there, so it must be the same as the upper wing control rod. Which was a diameter 1 circle. Diameter 1, click, click, 1, enter, and oh, it looks like it missed. On the origin, there we go, click, click, 1, enter, that's better. And I should be able to do my sweep now. So I'll just switch back to trimetric. There we go. Done. Let's select sweep. What am I using as my profile? That circle. And my sweep path is this one. Just make sure you click on these lines in the order. So then that one and that one. Done. Okay. Now we can do a mirror. So that was this tool here. Mirror. Mirror part. This one. Mirror plane. Click in here. It's going to zoom out and use the right plane. Okay, you get your preview. There it is. And click the green tick. Done. That's the double-ended rod finished. Wrong button. So, done, 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 done. We're up to the tail control rod. So it says in real life the rod will be made in 3 parts. The 3D printable pivot holder, which is this block. The 2mm metal pivot itself. That rod. And the wire rod, which is this bit. So we'll draw it as 3 separate parts and then assemble them. So we're going to do this in 3 separate tabs, in the same way as if you were to make it. Okay. So we're going to draw that on the right. And it's a diameter 1 circle as the cross section, what we draw at the bottom. Okay. So we'll just have a good look at this drawing that we're going to be drawing from the right view. So we've got a line that goes up 42, but that goes up to this dot here, up to here. Okay, and then we go across 3.5 and then up 10. So it's basically a up, straight across, straight up. Then we have curves inside that. Okay, I'll just draw a quick drawing of that. 42, back across 3.5, straight up 10, and then at the top, again, from that point there to that point there is 7. And then straight down, can't quite see, but based off that being 1.5, and it's only a singular number, I'm going to make that 3. Okay, now each of the radius is 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. Safe to assume this one's 1.5 as well. Now just be careful. 1.5, 1.5 makes 3. This is 3.5, so there is a straight line in here. So just be careful. Okay. Let's jump into Onshape. We'll start drawing this up. Now this was the tail. control rod, and this part is the wire rod. Okay, so new Part Studio. I'm going to rename this straight away wire rod. Done. And we can start sketching, and it wanted it from the right plane. Click N. Okay. Line straight up. That one we want as 42. Enter. Straight across. And we want that one as 3.5. Enter. Straight up. We want that one as 10. Enter. Straight across. And we want that one as 7. And straight down. We want that one as 3. Enter. Escape to turn that tool off. So now we can do our circles. So diameter 3, radius 1.5, and we can start moving. Sorry about the bell. So from here to here, we want that distance to be 1.5. And from here to here, we want that distance to be 1.5. There we go. Next. Diameter 3, enter. Dimension tool again. From here to here, I'll make that 0. We actually want to make it move across a little more again.
Do you reckon Thorin is life skills English studies? Yeah,
I might just escape. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. I might actually draw him up in here. Let me make it easier for myself. 3, enter. That's better. Make it a lot easier. From there to there, we want that to be 1.5. And from here to here, this way, 1.5. Okay, that's better. I might just trim that now. So M, get rid of that one, that one, that one. That's the little straight line we want to keep. Cool. I'll just zoom out and then move my mouse up here and zoom in. We'll put a circle up in here. Diameter 3. Move tool from here to here. We want 1.5. Go again. From here to here, 1.5. Okay. One more. Here, click, click. 3. Enter. Use that dimension tool to move it from here to here. 1.5. Same again, here to here, but up this way this time. 1.5. Enter. Alright, time to trim. So M on the keyboard. Trim that off. And that bit, and that bit. That's our sketch finished. And from memory, it was a diameter 1 circle as the cross section. Let's just double check. Yep.
I will close this.
So, sketch. I'm just going to switch back to the trimetric view so I can select my plane. It's going to be the top. Click N. just going to zoom in. I know it's on the origin. Click, click, 1, enter. Done. Sweep. Trimetric view. That one. And then select the path. We want that one. Make sure you get them in order, and that little tiny bit there as well. Zoom out. I just got to zoom in to get that tiny bit there and there. Done. Okay, and that's that part of the drawing done. And the next bit we'll do is the block in a new part studio. Okay, I've just realised I've made a mistake, but it'll actually teach you something. So I read this too quickly. Start by drawing the image shown on the right. When I drew my right wire rod in the right plane, whereas down here, begin by drawing the rod from the base up on the front plane. Whoops. So what I can actually do, if you've done that as well, I can actually just rotate the drawing rather than starting it all over again. So there's a tool here called Transform. There it is. It'll pop up. Just select the entities to be transformed or copied, so the whole part. Translate by line, drop down and click Rotate. And we're just going to click here and go 90 degrees. Enter. Sorry. We had to actually pick a face, so I just picked the base one. Zoom back out. And because I've already typed in the 90 degrees, it's already switched. But if I go to the front view, it's back to front. So what if I click that? There we go. Okay. Click the green tick. It's fixed. Okay. Phew. Let's have a look at our next instructions. Okay, the pivot holder, which is the block looking thing, should be drawn as two distinct pivot holder and pivot, so that's the rod that goes through it, should be drawn as two distinct parts and then assembled for use separately with the head and tail control rods. Use the working drawing on the next page to create your parts. Okay, here it is. So the block part. I'm just going to draw this in 3D first. Okay, so it looks like, if I just zoom in here, this should be my front view, and it has a width of 5 millimeters. From the side view, I can see from here to here is 5, and then from there to the base would be another 2.5, so 7.5. And that circle with the radius of 2.5 or a diameter 5. And that center hole there should align with the rod that goes through it, which is a diameter of 2. The hole that's in the top has a diameter of 1. And it looks like a depth of 4, which doesn't make sense because from here into the center there is 5 mil down from the top. From here to the top of that circle is 1. So that line should run along the top of that circle there. So there is an error with this drawing. It's not quite It's not quite perfect. We'll see how we go. Yeah, just jumping back up to the drawing there. Okay. So that was the front. So we should be drawing this from the right-hand plane because this was from the front and I want to draw this from the right. Let's give this a go. Okay. New Part Studio. Right click. Rename. This was the pivot holder. Enter. We're going to sketch this from the right. Click N. And back to our center point rectangle. Click, click. We're going to make that have a width of 5. Enter. And a height of 7.5. 7.5. Enter. Everything should fit in here. Circle. I'm going to do that with a diameter of 5. Enter. Use the dimension tool. I'm going to move that. Just going to undo that. I'm going to draw my circle up in here. 5. Enter. And then from here to here, we'll make that 2.5. I'm going to trim that, so M on the keyboard. And with the same center, so that point there, and that one's got a diameter of 2. Enter. Okay. So now we're going to extrude that. Shape there, I'll change it to trimetric so I can see it. Zoom back in. Solid, new, depth of 5. Enter. Tick. So far so good. This is where I think we're going to have a problem. Sketch. On this face here, click N. Circle tool. Halfway. Down to halfway. That's been inferred. And this one was a diameter 1. Enter. I'm going to go to trimetric view. Just zoom in there on the top. Sketch is done. I want to extrude that. Just a circle, but it's going to be a removal. Okay, solid removal to a depth of 4 millimeters. Tick. Because it touches that circle. Just going to click this tick. Yeah, it disappeared. So I'm going to modify that dimension. See what happens. Sketch that plane there. Not going to worry about normalizing. Circle, halfway, halfway. Keeping the diameter the same of 1. Extrude. Just a circle as a removal. And I'm just going to make it 3 millimeters. Tick, tick, it worked. So it's a difference of 1 millimeter. It's tiny. Okay. Back to our instructions. And we want to do the pivot as the next part. Nice and easy part, it's just a cylinder. So it is 20 millimeters long with a diameter of 2 millimeters. And it should be drawn from the right hand plane. Okay, so a new part studio. Rename the part studio. Pivot. Sketch from the right plane. Click N. Just going to zoom into the origin. Circle tool, click, click. Diameter 2, enter. Extrude. Switch to trimetric so you can see it as it's happening. Solid, new, not 25, it wants 20. Enter, green tick. Okay, so jumping back to our instructions. In the next part, it wants us to assemble that, and then you'll use the same assembly with a straight wire rod that is 54 millimeters long and 1 millimeter in diameter. So I believe we just need to draw one more rod. We'll call it the straight wire rod. .54 millimeters diameter. 1. And we'll draw it from the top view. New part studio. Rename it. Straight wire rod. Sketch from the top plane. Normalize. Circle tool, click, move, click. Diameter 1. Enter. Didn't quite get it on the origin. Just Control Z that. Command Z. Extrude. And then switch to trimetric view, and we wanted that to be 54 millimeters. Tick. Alright, I believe that's all the parts we need drawn for our connector rods. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 done. Okay, in the next episode I'll show you how to assemble that.